This is the divine romance. The tender, relentless love of God. He knocks at our door at night. He's ardent and impatient. Probably every marriage has experienced the man who says, I don't care if you feel like you're, all dolled up and beautiful and lovely. You're lovely to me, and I got a sparkle in my eye. And those are the moments that test a woman's heart. I don't feel lovely. Or I'm busy. Or I'm not sure I have the time. When we do that spiritually, we presume upon the privilege of His presence. We're not motivated at that moment to disrupt the routine. And in this stage of our walk with God, the very task of stirring us from slumber means we have to learn to prefer disruption and an inconvenience for the sake of the pleasure of His company. Our response must be based on the opportunity of His nearness rather than the discomfort which His nearness might require. This is a complex passage because the Shulamite's still learning this. And so even in just a few verses, she really does love him, but she's got a little fickle mixture of her own inner conflict and immaturity. And she's got passion, but she's self-reproach. She's feeling like, what does she say? She says, I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had turned and gone. My soul failed me. So I sought him. It's like, I'm going to make this right. No, I really do want you. I do love you. And those are valuable moments in the journey, not so that you can beat yourself up for the missed opportunity, but so that you can get back on track for the value of His presence. Yes. These are the gaps. Regardless of the specific reason for her, she's reluctant to respond. And we're meant to understand that no reason was really good enough. So as soon as he leaves, she's filled with regret and longing. And that's exactly why he left in the first place, because sometimes that is what nudges us back to fervency. Sometimes He will withdraw to provoke and trouble us. And we feel that gap. Matthew 5, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. We read that mourning and we think it has to do with our sin, or it has to do with the, grief in normal circumstances. There's a lot of applications. But mourning in this is, I just missed my time for love. And clearly, I don't see him as I should see him, or I would never want to miss that time. And it stirs a mourning in us. Blessed are those who mourn, you will be comforted. There's something that begins to shift in our emotional chemistry when we realize the gap has just cost us a transforming encounter with God. There's a gap between how much I do see him and how much I let him pursue me, how much I do see him, how much I don't see him, how much I know of him, how much I don't know of him. Do you know that for all of us at this stage in our life, I don't care if you've been a believer for 2 years or 20 years or 50 years. I don't care how long you've walked with the Lord. You don't know as much about him as you could. You don't see him as clearly as you could have by now, because we're all immature in how many moments we are willing to make with him. And for all of us, there is a gap worth mourning. Not, oh, I'm such a terrible person. It's none of that. It's the sorrow that leads to repentance. It's, I want to know more. He's that beautiful. He's that good. It's the difference between opportunity and response. When the gap becomes real to us, we appropriately mourn. And that's what the beloved does here. She awakens now sick with love. She was sleeping comfortably. Now she awakens sick with love. She's been provoked. Ecclesiastes, the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning. St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the great fathers of the church, one of the early doctors and scholars of the church, he wrote theological works of such elegance and insight and mastery, they're still studied today, hundreds and hundreds of years later. He was one of the most brilliant minds of the last 2,000 years. Everyone understood his mastery of the knowledge of God to this day. And on his deathbed, there was a moment where they thought he had died. They thought he had stopped breathing. The people were gathered around, and he's gone. This great pillar of the church is gone. And a few moments pass, and all of a sudden, he sits bolt upright, and he says, I have just seen the Lord. All I have written is but straw. And he falls back down on his bed and passes. Everything changes when you see him. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? Consequently, you and I, as we are instructed in this kind of love individually, in response to that, an awakened, lovesick heart wants to give back to the lover what the lover is investing. And so now, if you look in verses 6 and 8 of chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, but I'm just going to read 6 and 8. She's now provoked. She's awake. She realizes she missed her opportunity. She says, I opened to the beloved, but he had turned and gone. My soul failed me when he spoke. I sought him, but found him not. I called him, but he gave no answer. So now she starts going about the streets of the city, looking for him. She's actually persecuted in the passion of her pursuit. Others are trying to push her back. Hey, listen, this is a little too intense. Now you're bothering all of us. You're wandering through the streets at night, shouting for your lover. You're stirring us from our sleep. We don't understand you, and we don't necessarily like this, and she doesn't care. She's lovesick. And she encounters the daughters of Jerusalem again. She bumps into them on her pursuit. And she says, I tell you, daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, tell him I am sick with love. And this is a turning point in the book because the daughters of Jerusalem have now been confronted with such intense personal longing that the corporate bride is responding this way. What is your beloved more than any other? We don't understand. We haven't seen him the way you've seen him. O most beautiful of women, what is your beloved more than another beloved that you adjure us thus, that you try to motivate us and inspire us and beckon us? She says, oh, my beloved is ruddy and radiant, distinguished among 10,000. And then she just goes into this magnificent description because she has seen him. She has been touched by love. The daughters of Jerusalem had just been observers of her pursuit, but now they're starting to get a little bit enchanted themselves. They're like, tell us more. We didn't get it, but you won't stop. And we now feel the gap for ourselves.
Wow. So good. So good.
And part of the answer that the beloved gives to the corporate bride, you and I, in our individual pursuit of the Lord, can inspire one another, and that just starts to ripple out like yeast in a lump of dough. The whole dough being the corporate bride, and you and I just like little flecks of yeast in there. When we let his love touch us, have you seen him whom my soul loves? And we go through our process, our immaturity. We let the gap touch us. We appropriately mourn and get motivated back into the pursuit of him. We don't let others talk us out of that chase. And when all of that's happening and the corporate bride starts to look, we have an answer for him. Tell him. Tell him. I am sick with love. And we read that rightly as her own confession, but what we need to see it is a directive to the daughters of Jerusalem. You need to practice the language of longing. Yes. You tell him you're sick with love. Don't just watch me tell him. I'm telling you, whether you feel it or not, begin to declare your need. Begin to state your own gap. You, right here in the room, however many of us there are, don't look and say, well, I'm already there or they're there. Let's all be the one being told. You tell him. Yes. You tell him, I'm sick with love. I meant to grab you, Sarah. Would you come up, and I want to do that song. No, it's, you're still my first love. I was just wrecked. I'm wrecked with that. So beautiful. See, here's the deal. Ephesians 3. I'm going to end with this. You can turn to Ephesians 3. Paul says, for this reason I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and earth derives its name, that according to the riches of his glory, I'm starting in verse 14, he may grant you to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in your inner being. You and I have been made new creations. We have more capacity for love, to experience love and give love than any other people on the planet. The unredeemed have not yet touched the love that we have been given. You're awakened in love. You have seen him. You have seen him. Whether you know it or not, you've seen him. You just may need to see him more. Come on. And so Paul's prayer is that we would experience the love of Christ, that Christ would dwell in our hearts through faith, that we would be rooted and grounded in such intense experiences of love, the confidence of love, that we could have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and depth and height, to know the love of God which surpasses knowledge. So he's saying, measure something unmeasurable. Know the breadth, the length, the height, the depth. Attempt to know what is fundamentally unknowable. Therefore, the only way you can know it is to experience it. Keep looking at him. Keep seeing him. He's that good. He's that beautiful. He's that lovely. And when you do and you realize, I don't want to ever miss a moment with him, the net effect of all of us being captured by his loveliness in that way is a corporate bride rises up and we all have a confession. We're sick with love. We're running around each other. Have you seen him? Let me tell you how I saw him. And you are looking back at me. Well, let me tell you how I saw him. And our testimony, the knowledge of God, we overcome at the very end by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. My testimony is I am loved by the greatest lover in history, by the strongest man. He's touched me. He's changed me. He's been faithful when I was faithless. He never stops. He's relentless. And he's good enough to know when he needs to pull away so that I don't take advantage of that and I keep pressing in, because in the height and depth and length and breadth, I can't measure what is infinite. I can only yield to it. So this is Paul's prayer to the Ephesians, to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, until you're filled with all the fullness of God. To him who is able to do far more abundantly than all we can ask or think, according to the power that works within us. To him be the glory in the church, the ecclesia, forever and ever. You think, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to experience that. I don't know how to be that responsive. I don't know how to see him that way. That's okay. Just start here. I'm not sure I even really feel it, but I'm sick with love. I'm going to confess it, and I'm going to let that gap be something you pour your love into, and even the littlest touch of that love is going to ignite something in me, and I will trust that process. You don't have to make yourself love him. You just have to confess you need his love. 'Cause this was Paul's prayer for the Ephesians, but it's a fragile quality because by the end of the book, Jesus is showing up in Revelation chapter 2, and he says to the Ephesians, I know your works. It's where we were with the Shulamite confessing in chapter 1, hey, look at my works. That's what makes me lovely. He says, I know your works, but really, I just hate it that you've lost the first love. It's as simple as that. So I'm gonna ask Sarah, just the chorus and that bridge. This is how we can tell him, I'm sick with love. Let's sing this song, and I'm not even gonna try to do any ministry. This is the ministry. Just let the Holy Spirit touch you as you say the words of this song. It's your confession. Right now I'm saying, say this to him. I'm sick with love, and this song is how we're gonna do it. Let's stand. We're just gonna worship the Lord in this way and let him touch us with his love.